I will be showing you one of my games I played recently at the World Team Championship in Turkey, and it was a really good tournament for me. I won individual gold medal on my board, and US team did pretty well. I think overall we had some really big win against Russia. We won against Russia again, so 2 in a row, and unfortunately finished 4th, just a little bit behind winning a medal as a team, but I had a very good performance and the gold medal on my board. So this game I'm playing with the white pieces against an international master from Egypt, and I play d4, knight f6, c4, e6, so knight c3, bishop b4, so Nimzo-Indian defense opening. And it was very interesting. The first 3 games I played, I got these positions with white. So I had like 3. The first few games I played, people just kept on playing this Nimzo-Indian against me, and I had 2 draws against very strong players, but now I had a chance to try to win with white. So I played queen c2. This is the main move in this position. The other popular option is to play e3, the Rubinstein variation. Queen c2 is the classical setup. And now my opponent played castle. I played a3, bishop takes c3, queen c3, and here, of course, I was well prepared against the main lines b6, d5 here, knight e4, for example. But then he makes a move that I've actually seen before, but it's such a rare move that you're not really gonna leave all the main lines and sub variations to start looking at this move here. So didn't have much preparation against this move. Queen e8. So the question is, why is he playing this move? What is he trying to do now by moving his queen? And seems a bit odd, this move, because the pieces are not developed. But who can tell me the idea behind it? He's well, e5, not quite. e5, if you go, he can just take. There is another idea here. Try to see if you can see what is it really trying to do by going queen e8 here. Yes. That's what he's trying to do. That's his idea. He wants to get the knight on e4 in some point and play f5. And then his queen wouldn't be that bad here, can jump in on g6. But what else is he stopping? What else is he stopping here that is very important? Yes? No, what is black trying to stop? Yeah, I mean, he can go rook e8 now, but he's not too worried about that here. Yes?
Is black trying to stop e4 from white?
Black is always trying to stop e4 here. That's the main idea in the Nimzo-Indian, to stop e4.
To stop bishop c5 or g5.
Bishop g5, and that's what I wanted to say, because in these positions the main move is usually bishop g5 and creating a pin. But when he moves the queen away, now you go bishop g5, he's going to go knight e4 with the tempo, because the queen is no longer pinned on d8. Okay, so that's why he's playing the move queen e8. Queen e8 has been played by some very strong players, about maybe 40 to 45 games in a database. One of the top players is the Indian Grandmaster Hari Krishna, who played this move. So at first I saw it, I was like, what is this? And then, that was like a few years ago, and then suddenly somebody is actually playing this move against me. But what to do? When you're surprised in the opening, when your opponent makes a surprising move, what you should do is you still have to just try to make logical moves. Don't try to think, oh, I have to punish him because he's making a suspicion. Try to make logical moves in this position. Yes? F3 to play e4. Excellent. That's what I played. F3. In the Nimzo-Indian defense, it's a battle. Black is trying to control the e4 square and put a knight on e4 and play f5, and white is trying to do the opposite. He wants to control the e4 square. So usually whoever can succeed in this battle on the e4 square will probably have the advantage. Exactly. So my opponent played d6. When you give up the dark square bishop, you don't want to play d5 anymore, because that will be a bad idea, because your dark squares are already weak. So you should try to keep the pawns on a dark square to sort of compensate that, so your dark squares are not too weak. If you play d5 now, I go bishop f4, and it's just a good position. So he played d6 now. Now I had a choice here. What to do? e4 or bishop g5? So, of course, I played e3. I want to control e4, but still, I had to work a little bit here to realize which move is actually the best here. What do you think? Which move I played? Explain why bishop g5 is better than e4. Makes sense. Bishop g5 was played. This is a move that actually gaining a tempo. Everybody know here what is tempo? Tempo is when you make a move, creating a sort of a threat or attacking something, and making the opponent to react to your move. So here I make this move, he needs to do something, because he doesn't want me to take the knight on f6 and double his pawns and expose the position of the king. So you develop a piece with the tempo, and that's what you want to do in the opening. Now, he played another unusual move. Of course, knight bd7 was a natural move, but then he didn't like to be under this pressure with bishop f6. So that's why he played knight fd7. This came as a little bit of a surprise, actually. I didn't quite expect that he will play this move. Now, I decided, again, I had a choice here to play e4. It's very tempting here, but I decided to castle first. So I castle first, and it's going to be very sharp here, because he's going to start pushing his pawns on the queen side, and I'm going to try to attack his king on the g8. But after 2 consecutive draws in the tournament, even though against strong players, 2,700 players I drew FIDE, I wanted to play aggressive, and I didn't want to have like this long kind of endgame type positions. I wanted to see if I can just attack him and try to win a game in an attacking style. Now he plays a5, gaining space, and at some point he wants to play a4. Now the next move, what should white do here? It's time to play which move here? We have been delaying that move for a little bit, right? We have been delaying it for a little bit. But after the development, after the safety of the king, it's time to do it. Yes? e4, controlling the center, yes. Now look at that center now. If I can get a couple of more moves in here, develop my bishop and a knight, white will have small advantage or a big advantage, you think? If I manage to develop my pieces, the knight and a bishop here, with a big center and a pair of the bishops, this could be actually a big advantage, not just a small advantage. So that's why he's trying to do something. So he plays e5. He's trying to get that c5 square for the knight. And the question is, what should I do? How should I react to this move e5? Should I keep the tension? Should I exchange? Should I advance my pawn? Let me give you a little bit of time here to see if you can find the best move here. White to play. What should I do here? There are few options here. d5. It's a natural move to play. But in a previous lecture we talked about, lecture before this, when a player has 2 knights, he's aiming to keep the position closed, right? When the other player has 2 bishops, he is trying to open the position. So here, if we play d5, you gain space, but then you give up the c5 square, and position is going to be really closed. And that will be actually advantageous for black. So we don't necessarily want to play d5 here yet.
You can take his pawn.
I know I can take the pawn, but if I take, then I feel like a little bit worried about this square, because he could have some potential ideas of jumping in on d4. His knight can go here, and black is doing okay here. Black is fine.
What about 92?
92. Yes, your question. 92. 92 is the correct move to keep the tension. Okay? Because you develop a piece and you keep the tension. Even if he takes, now you take back with a knight, and you have a strong knight on d4. He goes knight to c6. Now he goes knight to c6 now. Very good. See, again, I'm not trying, actually, yeah, I think he played a4 first. Sorry, he played a4 first, and here I played g4, because that's what I mentioned, right? When we go opposite side castling, we start advancing the pawns, g4 and h4. So now knight to c6, h4. Now he plays e takes d4, knight takes d4, knight takes d4, queen takes d4, and he plays knight to c5, threatening a very, very strong fork. So now you need to make a move to avoid that fork and make sure the king is still remaining safe. King b1, of course. Now bishop d7. Black is preparing to play b5, and he's looking forward on attacking my king and create counterplay. Very difficult move now you need to find. Well, let's think about it first before we raise our hand, because I had to spend 5 to 10 minutes on this move. So, and I certainly don't want you to guess my moves. I want you to understand the ideas, so you can apply in your own games some of these ideas. He's threatening to play b5, and h5, the problem with this move, then you actually lose your bishop. And then he would take, then you play h6, you go back, maybe even just f6. It's not easy to break through here. Black will be very, very solid here. So bishop d7. So what is that move that I played here? Huh? It works perfect for both ideas.
You want your bishop, lights for bishop.
It works perfect because I want to also play h5, and I also want to be ready when he plays b5. If you just develop your bishop, then he just goes b5. So if you just bishop, he just goes b5. So that's the idea. Okay, yes?
Bishop d2, so I can put it on c3.
Knight b3. You lose the bishop. Strong bishop you lose. We don't want to lose the bishop here. My dark square bishop is very important here. That's why I have advantage. So don't want to lose the bishop. Yes?
Bishop e3.
Why do you like it?
Because now I don't have the knight e6, and I can play g5, h5.
Very good. Very good, bishop e3. And now I'm ready to play h5, h6. And if he plays b5, don't rush. Another very strong move needed here. If he plays now, another very, very strong move you have. E5, okay, knight b3, bishop c6. Position gets a little bit loose when you play e5. A little bit loose here. I certainly thought about h5. I certainly thought about h5, but I thought he could do maybe some h6 ideas, then some knight e6 he has still. See, my queen is, it looks good, my queen, but it's not the best square for my queen actually here. Because the queen is there blocking the rook, and it's also standing on these temples all the time. Knight e6, knight b3. So you gotta watch out for that knight jump a lot. So you wanna make a move and put your queen on a stable square. So then he doesn't have this knight jumps anymore. So which square I'm talking about here? Aha, well, let's be a little more specific, yeah? c3, yes. c3, absolutely. You put the queen on c3, and now I have a positional threat. Bishop takes c5. He takes back. So let's say he takes. Bishop takes c5. He takes back. Bishop c4. And white has a big advantage here because black pawns are very weak, and in the endgame he can lose this pawns. And I'm ready actually to advance my h5 and g5 pawns. Okay? So that's why. So I play queen c3, and now he plays knight to b3. I don't think he should have done this. Maybe he should have gone on e6, but... And by the way, who can tell me why, for example, he cannot do these tactics, like knight e4? Why this doesn't work? Because I had to make sure. I had to make sure that this doesn't work, because if it works, then I will be regretting it. Yes?
Take on e4, queen takes e4, bishop e3.
Very good. Takes.
Bishop takes a7.
See? You always have to think about tactics. And now discovery check wins the queen. If I didn't have this, my strategy would have failed. Excellent. Now, and why, for example, he cannot play this move?
Bishop takes c5.
I like bishop takes c5. Accurate. Takes.
Pawn takes bishop.
That's it. See? Connecting the rooks now. Piece up. White is a piece up. So he goes knight to b3. Here the knight actually looks, in chess sometimes you have these positions where the piece just looks good. But if you start thinking about it a little bit deeper, then you realize it's not really doing anything here. So the knight looks kind of threatening, there on b3. And you may think, wow, this knight is there. But in reality, it's not doing anything. And now he left his king exposed. And now it's time to go for the decisive attack here and finish this game within few moves. Within few moves. h5. That was our idea. And whenever you have some good ideas, you stick with that idea. I had to pause that idea for a little bit to make sure I neutralize what he's doing. And now after the neutralization, it's time to continue with the same plan. Ready to play h6 now. And try to checkmate him on the dark squares. Now, if he plays h6, you play g5, he takes h6, takes rook h6, decisive. If he takes, take, tactics. Threatening bishop h6 check, and f6 is weak. Bishops are just too strong for him in this position. So at this point he realized things are looking pretty bad for him here. So he played f6, trying to at least to shut down my queen here. And I have to be precise here, because one more move he plays h6, then it's going to be much harder to break that position, because he will be solidly protected. I'm still much better, no question about it, but it will be harder to break through. And I would like to make sure that I get the most out of it. So which move you should try to play to get that strength here? G5, f takes g5. Not so clear, yeah? Yes? h6. Again, staying with the same idea, right? When the pawn reaches on h5, he doesn't want to stay there. He wants to reach on h6. Now we are ready to take and expose the position of the king here. And if he plays bishop g5, you see the tactic, right? Bishop takes g5. Takes queen g7, checkmate. So he plays g6. And now, what do we call a pawn like this? When the pawn is on a 6th rank, what do we call that? That it's a big plus for you to have a pawn like this. In an end game is good, in a middle game positions with the queens on the board. What do we call that? I've mentioned that in my previous lectures, if you watch them. Very important to know this, because you should remember and aim to get a pawn like this on a 6th rank. Yes, we'll get to that, but the name for that is a pawn wedge. So remember that. Sometimes they refer wedge pawn. Pawn wedge, very strong in this position. Okay? So remember, try to get the pawn wedge if you're white on a 6th rank, if you're black on a 3rd rank. This will help you with a lot of tactics. So what's the best move here? G5 is a possibility, but G5, I thought he can play maybe queen E5, maybe. And take on B5? Yeah. Correct. Now the problem is if he takes, and now you see the strength of a wedge pawn. Because if he takes, you see that? That's why you want to have a pawn wedge like that, okay? On G7, on H6. So I took, and now he played rook F7. Let's think about it a little bit. You know, you don't want to take chances, right? So we need to spend a little bit of time here. Position is already winning here, but
Bishop C4.
absolutely. When you have a piece that is not developed, even if you're winning, what you should do? Develop it. Develop your pieces. Remember, even in the winning positions, you should remember about that development, right? Because it will be harder for me to win this game without my bishop and rook. But if I get those pieces in, then his position not going to be defendable. So bishop c4, bishop e6, and very strong move. Don't rush. Don't rush. It's, you know, when opponent offering exchange, you don't just want to think about taking all the time. You want to think about, should I change? Should I maybe keep the tension? Should I find a way to break through and get in with my pieces? At this point, you have a better position and an extra pawn. And also black king is quite weak. So what will be the strongest move here to try to break through? Yes? But pawn, the rook is protecting it, yeah. If the rook wasn't there, it would have been a good idea. But the rook is protecting it. Absolutely. Absolutely b6. Good job. The reason is the b5 pawn is it's an extra pawn, but it's a little bit weak. And one day I could lose that pawn. So what I'm doing, I'm giving this pawn, but breaking that pawn chain here and winning a really good pawn on d6. And not only that, my rook is coming into his territory. So b6. He takes. Rook d6. He takes. And now he plays b5. Attacking my queen here. What should I do now? I have few options here, but I truly need to find the best square now for my queen. And what square is that?
Queen d5, you can take f6 and just take all the pawns.
Okay, well, let's see. Queen d5 was played because it's a centralization, right?
Play rook d1, like rook d8, and then
Okay, well, knight a5 was played. My opponent finally realized last 10 moves this knight was sitting there on b3, but wasn't doing that much. And my bishop is basically cutting this knight off because taking away all the squares. So just really cutting the squares off for this knight. So knight goes back on a5 now. Knight goes back on a5 now, and what to do here? If you remember what I just said earlier, you will find the best move here. There are a few ways to win here, but what's the best and the most technical way to win this game? Technique, yeah?
shoot. Bishop d4.
Bishop d4. You could do that, but what else?
Thinking about getting your rook and lining up your
Excellent.
battery.
Excellent. See? Everybody should remember about development. I just mentioned that. When you're winning, what do you do still? Develop your pieces. See, you're attacking, but let's bring one more attacker in. Then we have everybody in, and then it will be easier to win. So remember that. Rook goes to d1.
Your queen could take the rook,
I could, yes.
or you could offer your rook up and threaten the queen,
I could do that too.
and then you would trade. I think you'd end up winning those trades with the next.
Yes, that's good, but I have something even better than that. What you're saying is good, but that's just going to be an end game where I'm just winning, but still a little bit technical. So obviously he goes knight c4, because that's the purpose of the knight. So now I put the knight here. Why to play? Find a move that is going to force the resignation here. He just resigned. I made a move and left, and okay, I didn't expect him to resign, but he just calculated for 2-3 minutes and realized he's just losing like a rook maybe, or getting mated here. Think about it. Raise your hand first.
Queen takes rook.
Let's think about it first. That's queen takes rook is just an endgame. Yeah, it's good, but I don't necessarily want to play an endgame here if I can just win the game. Yeah, this is winning position, but it's still we play for another hour or so, at least. Yes, in the back.
What if it was pawn g5?
When here or
Sorry,
when?
the next move by the white.
Oh, okay. You mean here? No, but here, when he plays knight c4, he's attacking too many things here, see? So he kind of forked me. So he maybe thought I just forked him. But that's why I don't have time for g5 yet. Yes? Knight e3. And now he's attacking me, yeah? He takes on e3 and attacking me. Sure?
Rook e6.
Excellent. That's the winning move. Rook e6. Strong move. Rook e6 attacking the queen. Now let's see why he resigned. Why this strong international master resigned. Okay. the problem is now this rook is hanging in a lot of lines. So he has 1, 2, 3 moves, right? Anything else just loses it, you know. So if he goes to c8 and b8, what do we do?
Bishop c5.
Well, rook takes f6.
What do you do?
Threatening here. Okay. Now he goes here. We could take this, but let's checkmate. Check and mate. And again, see that mating net is here because of that pawn wedge on h6. So now, so if the queen moves away, it's clear. We just take on f6 and we just mate him. It's just going to get mated. If he goes to f8,
And bishop c5.
now bishop c5 comes in with the tempo. Tempo. We talked about that earlier, right? Always look for those tempos. Developing and attacking tempos. Now he takes here, down a rook. So just if he goes away, take on f6 and e7. So that does them. Okay, and the last line is knight takes c3 that I had to calculate. I spent a couple of minutes just checking the lines and then played rook e6. Now, what's the winning line here?
Rook takes c8, rook takes c8, queen takes b5.
Excellent. Now attacking the loose piece, yeah? That's a loose piece. So he takes, check, he goes back here and again, do you see how important role this pawn is playing here in the game? In all these lines, it's causing black so much problems here, so many problems here. So you have to look for these ideas. When you look at Grandmasters games, a lot of times they start pushing that h-pawn. And you may think, why is he really doing this? It doesn't look like he's threatening anything. But in the future, they anticipate, it will be useful to have the pawn advance. In endgames as well. In a lot of endgames, it's useful for you to have a pawn advance. Some positions also you have to be careful not to lose the pawn. But overall, it's a big plus. Okay? Okay, so he resigned here. Any questions you have about this game? Very good. Now, I will set up one position for you and see if you can find the right plan here, okay? White to play, and you need to find the best continuation for white. First, you need to analyze this position and understand what you're playing for. In chess, during the game, you should kind of try to always evaluate the position objectively, not just think, oh, I'm playing white, I should always win. No, you have to always be objective and know what you're playing for. Then it will help you to make right decisions. So in this position, first thing, you need to think what you're playing for. So let's spend a few minutes to understand. Joshua.
Draw.
White is trying to draw. Correct. Now we come to the second question. How?
c3.
Okay, well, interesting. Do you have a plan or is it just a move? Okay, let me test you then. c3, king d8. No, just hand, yeah? You only call, when I ask you, then you can tell the answer. When you reach these endgames, you actually need to calculate it out, okay? Because you can't make a move and then start calculate because maybe that move you made was already losing. So you always calculate it out. So basically here, it's an endgame. Not too many pieces on the board. You need to calculate here. And all the way until the draw here. Okay, you ready? Okay, we have c3 suggestion. Uh-huh. Impressive. Very good. Stalemate. See? You have to think about these ideas. So you calculate it out. You start out with c3. You just need to realize that if you play c4 right away, you lose. Because when you play here, he goes king e8, and he's going to win this. That's why we need to get this position with his move. So he can go king d8 and sort of block our king. And when the king is blocked, then we can do the stalemate idea. So that's why we play the c3. And black king cannot go away because he will lose d7. If he plays c5, we just take it. And it's a stalemate. So remember that. You must calculate 4 or 5 moves in advance in endgames. Okay? Okay, next position I have. Black to play here, and what he should try to do here? What is black trying to do here? Is he playing for a win, or is he playing for a draw? First, whenever you're trying to solve a puzzle, analyze a position, you always try to see what you're really trying to do here. Yes? What are we trying to do here?
Draw.
Draw. Makes sense, because we're down a pawn. His pawn is on a 7th rank. He's got another passed pawn that is coming down the line. And so we're trying to draw this. Correct. Next question now, how we do that? Joshua.
King g3. If he plays rook g8, then king h3.
Okay, let's just go a little bit slower so everyone here can follow and we can understand. Okay? So king g3 now. Your threat is to play rook a1 mate. So if he doesn't play the correct move, he's going to get mated. So he goes rook g8 check.
Then king h3.
King h3. Now, if I queen,
Then rook a1.
rook a1 check. He is sacrificing the rook as well. And if takes,
Then stalemate.
stalemate. He's sacrificing, and now it leads to a checkmate, stalemate here. With all this extra material, white cannot win. Okay, what else he can do? The threat is huge. And actually, you also want to take this. That's your main idea, to win this pawn. If he goes back here now, you're no longer interested in taking this pawn because you have mate. So he is going to try to do rook g2 and see if he can still try to win this. What do you do then?
We play rook a1.
Check.
And then we take the pawn.
And we take the pawn. Absolutely. And the final idea, he goes king to g1, trying to escape from there.
And then we take the pawn.
We could take the pawn. That's probably still a draw. But now, who can find the elegant way to make a draw here? Immediately forcing the draw here.
Rook check.
Okay, where?
G2.
G2. Rook g2 check. If the king moves away, black actually wins because he protects the a8 square. He can't do anything. So now he takes, and it's a stalemate. So always remember about the stalemate idea. Okay? Thank you everyone for coming to this lecture, and tomorrow we have more lectures. Okay? Bye-bye.